So in today's video, we'll be looking at how to design a party flyer using the Adobe Photoshop. Please, if you're actually new to the channel and you're yet to subscribe, do well to smash the subscribe button and turn on the post notification bell, guys, to get notification whenever I upload new content. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you for always watching. But without further ado, let's dive into the video. So we have to create a Canva workspace by clicking on New File. We have the New Document panel over here, and we have to create a design that can be used across social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, among others. So I'd like to basically set my Canva on 1080 by 1350. The unit should be set on pixels. You can give this project a name, okay? I'll be calling this Mega Vibes. That should be the theme of the event. Set the resolution on 300, color mode remains on RGB, and you can hit on the create button. So over here we have the Canva workspace on which we'll be designing on. The next thing I'd like to do here is to drag in the resource files I'll be using in creating this design. So over here on my Canva, here are the exercise files I'll be using to create this design. Do well to check the video description. You'll find the link to the exercise files in the video description. So the first phase of creating this design has to do with creating of the background. So I have to head over to the adjustment and create a solid fill background by using this hex code 002110 is actual hex code. I'll click on the OK button. So moving on, the next thing I'd like to do is to enable the image I'll be using for my background, which is this image over here. So the first thing I'd like to do is to right click and convert it to a smart object. By doing so, it enables me to maintain the image quality whenever I scale it up or scale it down without actually losing its original quality. So I'll hit Ctrl T to transform it out and take it this way, holding Alt on the keyboard. Left click and drag out from the middle this way. Okay, so after you are done with that, you click on the check button. Okay, so moving on, the next thing I'd like to do here is to actually blend this with the background. So I'll change the blending mode for this image to, I think this will actually work. Okay, linear dodge will work perfectly well. So after I'm done, I would like to blur out the background to be out of focus. So I'll head over to filter and enable the Gaussian blur effect over here. So for this will be more of an eyeballing situation. You have to scale it down, making sure that the information that you'll be placing on the foreground can be seen. So you blur out your background to a good radius. I think this is good enough. So I'll click on the OK button. So moving on, the next thing I have to do is to drag in the other image I'll be using to fill up my background. Okay, so I would like to drag this over here and place it here. Enable this. Okay, Ctrl T on the keyboard to transform it out. Make sure it's aligned to the middle. Hold Alt, left click and take it out like this. Okay, check, and you can change the blending mode for this to around something like this. Okay, that is in terms of that. So moving on, I would like to also create a new layer here. I'll hit Ctrl Shift N on the keyboard and call this noise. Okay, I need to add noise textures to the background. Change this to soft light, enable the 50% gray option and click on the OK button. Right click and convert this to a smart object so that I can make subsequent adjustments whenever I need to. So I'll head over to filter all the way to noise and add noise. I'll be adding a noise of about, let me see. I think this amount is good enough. I don't need it to be too heavy. This should be set on uniform. Monochromatic should be checked as well, and click on the OK button. Okay, so after we are done with this, the next thing I would like to do is to add a little of depth to this background. So I'll come to the adjustment and enable the curve adjustment here. For this end entails highlights, this other end entails shadow. The middle part are referred to as the midtones. So I'd like to set a pointer over here and add more of shadow to this. Okay, so I'll take this down like this, okay, to enrich the background. Okay, so you can see that the colors are actually coming out right now. So the next thing I would like to do over here is to group the layers. Okay, so I would like to group the layers by selecting this. Okay, selecting this, holding shift, select this and hit Ctrl G to group this. So I can call this BG, which actually stands for the background. So moving forward, I would like to enable the model image, which is this. I'll drag it over here and enable it. Okay, this is the image. So the next thing I would like to do is to actually right click and convert it to a smart object as well. Hit Ctrl T and I can take it to somewhere around like this. Okay, that is in terms of that. I can choose to scale it down and place it in like this. So holding shift, take it up a little like this. Okay, so after I'm done with this, I would like to head over to the filter and enable the camera raw. So I've enabled the camera raw and I would like to enable the before and after. Okay, so over here I'll start by working with the basics. So over here on the basics, I would like to reduce the exposure a little bit like this. Likewise, the contrast can be taken up a little bit, like around something like this. Please take note that when making use of the camera raw, it is more of an eyeballing situation. There are no rules actually governing this, so you let your eyes to guide you to know when you have over applied a particular adjustment and adjust it manually. So after I'm done with the highlights, the shadows is okay. I like to scale up this way like this. Okay, I think this amount is okay. So moving on, head over to the blacks and enrich the blacks like this. The texture, I will take this all the way to 100, and the clarity, I would like to increase it a little bit. Okay, so moving on, I'll head over to details. Okay, so over here on details, I'll be working on the sharpening and noise reduction. So for the sharpening, I would like to take this to a good radius of about this is okay. While the noise reduction, I would like to adjust it to around something like this. Okay, so this is the before and this is the after. So I can click on the OK button. So we have our image looking like this. Okay, that is in terms of that. So this is I will show you. So I would like to show you the essence of why I basically convert the image to a smart object. So in a situation where I have issues with the camera raw filter, I can head over to this arrow here and double click on the camera raw, and it will take me back to the camera raw filter. Okay, and I can make adjustment as well. So I'll click on OK and to proceed. So I like to Ctrl T, scale this back like this. Okay, so that is in terms of that. So moving on, I would like to start adding depth to this image. Okay, so I would like to enable the curve adjustments to add more depth. So I head over to the adjustment here and enable the curve adjustment. So I'll click on the clip mark so that the effect will be only on the model. So I'll try to create an S curve like this. Okay, trying to create a feel of depth in the image by creating an S curve like this. Okay, so that is in terms of this. So moving on, I would like to create a solid fill adjustment. Okay, I need to create a feel that there is a light reflection on the skin of the model here. So I'll slide over to the adjustment and enable the solid fill over here. So I'll be using the hex code E1B101, that is the hex code. I'll click on the OK. So I would like to select this white mask layer here, hit Ctrl I to actually invert the marks. So I would like to pick my brush tool. The keyboard shortcut is B on the keyboard. So I'll right click and make sure I'm working with the soft round brush. I need this to be very soft. Control your flows and opacity. Okay, set your opacity on 100. You can control your flows to around 15 or 13 like this. Make sure this is selected, the mask is selected, and your foreground is set on white. Okay, so I'll increase the brush using the square bracket key on your keyboard. Okay, and I would like to apply some details like this by brushing around this. Okay, I notice this is affecting the background, so I'll have to hold Alt on your keyboard in between the curve layer and this color fill layer. In between them, hold Alt. You notice your mouse pointer changes to this icon and arrow pointing down. Left click to create a clipping mask. So come over here like this to apply that light reflection on the skin of your model to depict that, okay, the light is coming from the background. Okay, so that is in terms of that. So I'll come over here as well. Okay, I'll apply this here as well to create that fill. Okay, that is in terms of that. So this is without and this is with. Okay, so moving on, I would like to double click on the layer, that is the color 2 layer here, and the layer style will actually come up. So with this, I would like to create a smooth transition between the color on the face of the model. So I'll hold Alt, left click to break this slider this way. So I'll take this to around something like this. Okay, and I would like to take this to around something like this. Okay, so after I'm done, I'll click on the OK. You can see this is a little bit more smoother. Okay, so moving on, the next thing I would like to do here is to actually group the layer. So I'll select this layer here, holding Shift, select the model layer here, hit Ctrl G to group this, and I'll call this model. So by grouping your layers or grouping them together this way, it will enable you to organize your panel properly and more neater. Okay, your layer panel will be more organized. Okay, so moving on, I would like to copy out this hex code. Okay, I would like to create an atmospheric effect, okay, on the background. So I'll head over to the background group. Okay, directly above this curve layer, I'll select this and paste in the hex code here. Okay, and hit Ctrl I, select the mask, hit Ctrl I to invert it. Pick your brush, set your foreground to white, and increase and apply this gently to separate this from the background. So I'll select the brush, reduce the flows to around something like this, around 5. So you can create the atmospheric flare. Okay, that's okay, this is actually coming from the background. Okay, so moving on, the next thing we would like to do here is to create our guides. So I'll head over to view, enable the guides, and select the new guide layout. Okay, here are basically the parameters I'll be using to structure my informations. So I'll click on the OK. For the model, I can actually select the group, hit Ctrl T. Okay, take this down a little bit like this, or like this is okay, and I'll check. Okay, so the next thing I would like to do here is to create a solid adjustment. Moving on. Okay, and for this I'll use the hex code 01180C should be the hex code, and I'll click on the OK. Select the mask layer, select your gradient tool, and all you have to do is to left click and drag out like this. Okay, so I'll come over here, left click and drag out like this. Okay, left click and drag out this way, trying to create contrast for the information I would like to place on this other end of my design. Okay, so moving on, I would like to reduce the opacity of this to around something like this. Okay, that is in terms of that. So the next thing I like to do here is to place in a rectangle. So I'll create a rectangle, and after I'm done creating the rectangle, I would like to select the rectangle tool here. To be precise, the keyboard shortcut is U. So I'll create a rectangle of this dimension like this. Okay, and for this I'd like to give it a curved edge. Need to curve it a little bit like this. Okay, so for this rectangle I would like to change its fill color to this. So I'll double click on this. So I'll change the fill color to 061A0F, should be the hex code for this. So moving on, change the blending mode of this to screen. Okay, double click on the layer styles will basically come up. So over here on the layer style, I'll be working on the stroke and the drop shadows. Okay, so for the stroke here, I would like to add this, set this on 1. The opacity can be set on 47. This is set on outside, and this is set on white. The color is set on white. While for the drop down shadow, I would like to set this as follows. So this, I can reduce this to around 25. Should be the hex. It should be the opacity. Multiply angle 130 can be the angle. So this can be set to around something around this. Okay, so I can increase this to around 4. The spread for the sides, I can scale this up to around this. Okay, so I need this to be like this. So leave other settings the way they are, and you can move forward to hit on the create button or the OK button. So over here you can see the effect on the background of the design. So I would like to place in my informations such as the date and time of the event. Okay, so I'll pick my text tool over here. Okay, so the next thing I like to do is to set my alignment to the middle, and come over here, left click to paste in all the information I'll be using to create this design. I'm placing the name of the organizing body here. So I'll place the name here. Head over to the character panel. Please, if you don't have your character panel here, you can enable it from the window, to be precise. So I enable the caps here. Okay, and for this I would like to create hierarchy by setting this on using the Gotham font. I would like to italize this. Okay, that is in terms of that. For this I would like to make this much visible by setting it around something like bold. Hit Ctrl T to transform, scale it down like this. Okay, so Ctrl A, pick your move to align this to the middle. Okay, you can also adjust the tracking, the space between text. Okay, and Ctrl D to deselect. Okay, that is in terms of that. So the next thing I like to do here is to place in the brand icon over here. So this is the brand icon. I would like to place the logo mark here. This is more of a QR. Okay, so the present text, I'll take it a little bit down like this. Okay, so for the QR, I can still choose to scale it down a little, and this, take this side by side as this. Okay, so I can select both of them, holding shift, hit Ctrl G, and call this brand logo. Okay, that is in terms of that. So the next thing I like to do is to place in the date of the event. Okay, so for the date of the event here, I have to copy it, which is this. So I'll paste in the date over here. So for this, I like to set this particular line of text to around 15 or 16 to be precise. Okay, and I would like to set this black under the font style category. So moving on, I also like to change the fill color for the text for this to create contrast among elements in my design here. So I'll use the hex code E9D80C. Okay, I'll click on the OK button for that. So moving on, I would like to reduce the space between these by adjusting the leadings this way. Okay, and afterwards I can click on this. Okay, so I would like to take this into the rectangle layer here. Okay, hold Control on your keyboard, move your mouse pointer where we have this icon here, where you have the rectangle one, hold Control, your mouse pointer changes to a hand icon with a square on it. So I'll select the rectangle, pick this and align this horizontally and vertically into that. Ctrl D to actually deselect. Okay, that is in terms of that. So moving on, I can still choose to reduce the size for this. I don't like the way it is so big, so I'll reduce the size, adjust the leadings like this. Okay, Ctrl T to transform it out. Okay, you can still choose to reduce this a little bit. Okay, adjust the tracking, the leadings rather. So I can still adjust this as well to around 7 or 8. Okay, so Ctrl T on the keyboard, increase the size of this. Okay, I think this is giving me what I want. Hold Ctrl once more, pick your move tool, align this horizontally and vertically into the space. Ctrl D to deselect now. Okay, so I can select both layers, scale it down and place it around somewhere here like this. Okay, make sure it aligns with the guides. Okay, that is in terms of that. So I can still choose to make a duplicate, but before doing that, I'll group this. I'll call this date, make a duplicate by hitting Ctrl J and call this time. So I'll apply the same technique to this as well. But before moving further, I'd like to change this to MC and DJ. That's the information for the MC and DJ. I'm trying to organize my layer panel as quick as possible. So I'd like to take out this. We are done with this particular lines of text. So the next has to do with the theme of the event. Okay. So for the theme of the event, I would like to pick my text to paste in the text here. So we'll change the font to a font called Vampire. Okay, so set this like this, adjust the space, that is the leading. So hit Ctrl T to transform it out, make it visible. Okay. Ctrl A on the keyboard, click your move to align this to the middle. Ctrl D to deselect. Okay, so after we are done with this, the next thing I would like us to do, so for the theme, all I have to do is to change the fill color to a hex code of EFD03A. Okay, and afterwards I'll click on the OK button. So for this, I'll increase the leadings, or rather the trackings, to around this. So I'll come over here, pick my text to take out this line of text. I don't need this here. So for this, I would like to enable these PNGs over here and drag it to where we have this. So I'll enable this. Okay, hit Ctrl T, take it directly above this, and check, hold Alt in between the two layers to create a clipping marks. Okay, likewise for this other text layer, I'll take it here and enable it as well. So I like to start by hitting Ctrl T and placing this around here like this. So moving on, I like to change the blending mode for this to around something like this. Enable this as well to also change its blending mode to multiply. Okay, so I'm trying to add depth to this. So moving on, I also like to add more depth by hitting Ctrl M on the keyboard. Okay, Ctrl M enables the curve adjustment. So I like to take this a little bit this way like this, and take this a little bit like this. Okay, so that is in terms of that. Okay, you can see without the curve and with the curve adjustment. So moving on, I would like to basically select these layers and actually add more depth to it. But before doing that, I would like to double click on this mega layer here. Double click, the layer style will come up. So over here on the layer style, we'll be adding more of drop down shadows. Okay, so over here on the drop down shadows, I like to increase the opacity to around this. Okay, and adjust the angle to around 120. This can be set to around something like this. Okay, increase the spread range to around this, and the size can be enhanced to around something like this. So we click on the OK button. Okay, so I can see that this is actually intense. Okay, so moving on, I would like to head back to the drop adjustment and to the layer adjustment here, and reduce the value of black. I like to use something around this, not full black. I think this will work. So the next thing I would like to do here is to duplicate the layer. So I hold Alt left click and drag down like this to create a duplicate. So I'll take this down like this. Okay, pick my text tool and paste in the text here. Change the fill color to white. Okay, so I would like to take this directly above the group. Okay, and hit Ctrl T, bring it this way like this, and we are good to go. So that is in terms of that. So moving on, the next thing I would like us to do is to place in the information of the contact. Okay, so for bookings and the rest of them. So I would like to do that and place this. Okay, pick the text tool, paste in the text here. For this, we'll maintain the same font, which is called Vampire. Okay, so that is in terms of that. I would like to increase the size of the text. Okay, likewise for this other line of text at the bottom here, I'll select them and reduce their size, thereby creating hierarchy and at the same time creating contrast among my elements. Okay, adjust the size again, adjust the leading size between the two texts like this. Okay, so Ctrl A on the keyboard, pick your move to make sure the layer is selected, pick your move to align it horizontally, Ctrl D to deselect. Okay, so I can choose to scale this down further, more like this, and we are good to go. So for this, I'll take this outside the group and select the theme, select the vibe, holding shift all the way to mega here, hit Ctrl G to group this. I can call this theme, so I'll call this the theme of the event. Okay, so I'll take this here. So moving on, I like to adjust the position of the theme like this. Likewise, the size of the model image, I choose to adjust it and take it up using the navigation key. Okay, so for the theme, you can also take it up, thereby creating room for other text to actually come in. For this, I can take this up like this. Okay, so that is in terms of that. So for this, I'll pick the text tool on my tool panel and change the fill color by sampling color around here like this. Is basically okay. I can still choose to increase this a little bit like this. So we have our information looking like this. Okay, you can still choose to adjust this way by increasing it to around maybe 4.5. Sorry, Ctrl Z or Ctrl Z on 4.5 should work, and you can check. Okay, so the next thing I like to do here is to change the font style for this to, let me say, bold should work. Okay, so I'll head over here and copy out this line of text. Okay, paste it in here, Ctrl T to transform, scale it down, align to the middle like this. Pick your text tool. You can create contrast as well by setting this on bold or black. I can set this on bold and sampling color around here to create contrast as well. So for this other line of text, I can come over here all the way to here, all the way to where I have the core information, and change this style to around something like light, and click on the check, pick your move to align this to the middle like this. Okay, so Ctrl D to deselect. So the next info has to do with the drinking IQ info here, so I'll cut this out and placing the text over here. So I hit Ctrl T, hold Alt, holding Shift rather, to scale and rotate. Okay, so I can come over here and place this around somewhere here like this. Increase the tracking, that is the space between text. So I can hit Ctrl T to reduce this. Use the navigation key to take this up like this, and we are good to go. You can increase this like this. Okay, so that is in terms of that. So I'll pick the move tool to adjust this, and moving on, I would like to enable the drinking icon image here and place it here. Okay, Ctrl T to transform and make sure it is aligned. Okay, that is in terms of that. So the next set of information we'll be looking at has to do with the sponsor information. Okay, so for this sponsor information here, I would like to hit Ctrl T and take this around somewhere here like this. Okay, but before moving on, I like to group these layers again, the drinking icon, and call this drink IQ. Okay, why this can be referred to as contact, or I can call this address. Okay, so I'm trying to organize my layers as neat as possible. So moving on, I would like to enable all the sponsors image over here. So I'll select them, hit Ctrl T to actually scale them down. Okay, so I'll take this out of this and turn it off first. Select this layer over here, hit Ctrl T to scale it down properly. Okay, so if you are done, I would like to place it around somewhere here like this. Okay, so you'll be wondering that why am I trying to place this around here? This design is mainly created for social media platforms. Okay, so we don't intend to use them on for print, so this is more for online usage. So I would like to take this layer down here like this. For this sponsored text, I'll take it up and I'll change the fill color to black so that it can be visible. Click on the OK button. I'll change the style to around something bold enough. Okay, so can adjust this like this. Okay, pick the move tool and adjust this way. So I can have this looking positioned here, and the next thing I would like to do is to take this and place it around here. Ctrl plus to zoom in properly to see what you're actually doing. Okay, so for this, I like to take it and position it around somewhere here like this. For this, I like to take it and place it somewhere around here. For this, okay, the Johnny Walker icon can be placed here. The MTN icon can be placed here. Okay, the Pepsi icon can be placed here. Okay, the Hip TV icon can be increased. Okay, and taken down here like this. Okay, so this can stand on its own. So all I have to do here is to select them and position them this way into the canvas. Okay, so that is in terms of that. Ctrl 0, Ctrl plus, okay, Ctrl H to hide your guides. So I would like to add depth by enabling this layer here as well. So I'll hit Ctrl T, bring it in and rotate its angle to around something like this, holding shift. So scale it out. Okay, so the next thing I'd like to do is to change the blending mode to this, to around, let me see which will work. I think this will work, and I'd like to reduce the opacity to around, let me say 8. Okay, that is in terms of that. So Ctrl T, rotate, right click and flip vertically. Okay, that is in terms of that. So I think we are almost done. So for the rectangle here, I would like to hit Ctrl T, Ctrl plus to zoom in and take this down a little bit like this. So I'll come over here, select the whole logos and take them down. I can still choose to Ctrl T to reduce the size. Okay, for the sponsor, make sure it's aligned Okay, so that is in terms of that. So Ctrl 0 to fit to screen, and finally I would like to go to the model group. Okay, this is the model group. Can add a mask to this, pick my brush to increase the flows. Okay, set your foreground to be on black. The black enables you to hide. So I'm still working with the soft round brush, so I'll brush out these edges so that there will be a smooth transition. Okay, I think that is in terms of that. So you can still choose to take your design a step further, but before moving further, I would like to select this layer, holding shift, select this and group this and call these partners. Okay, so moving on, you can choose to apply the color lookup and select from the preset of color lookups, which basically enhances the look of your design project. Okay, so if you find the one that works for you, you can go ahead and use it on your design. So ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of today's video. If you do find this video helpful, do well to give it a like, do well to smash the like button, guys. If you are new to the channel and you are yet to subscribe, do well to smash the subscribe button and turn on the post notification bell to get notification whenever we upload new content on the channel. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you for always watching. If you have questions or comments, you can leave your questions and comments in the comment sections, and do well to share this video with other creatives around you, and see you in the next.